Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about San Francisco and some things you can do while you're in San Francisco if you're stopping by, and also the best ways to get there. So, my recommendation for going to San Francisco is if you live in Southern California, I'd recommend taking the train. It'll take you about almost a whole day just to get there, but it's a lot easier than driving, and also parking is pretty scarce there. So, I'm not a professional, I've only been one time, but this is just kind of my advice on what I'd do if I was going to San Francisco. So, uh, if you only have one day, I'd recommend going by train. But if you want to drive, that's totally your choice too. I'd recommend going by train, and then what I recommend doing if you only have one day is I would recommend seeing Golden Gate and Alcatraz. So Golden Gate, sometimes the weather conditioning isn't the best, and it can be kind of foggy. So try and do your research on the best time to go and try and get good weather if you can. Also in the morning, it's usually kind of overcast and that marine layer kind of rolls in. And then Alcatraz, again, be careful with that if you're booking a cruise. Make sure it's through the National Park Service. There's only one ship company that'll take you there. So just go to, if you look up Alcatraz, it should just take you to the national parks one there, and then that'll take you to Alcatraz. So if you have one day, before I went to San Francisco, that's all I knew about it was Golden Gate and Alcatraz, and we saw those and had a good time at both of those places. So I would recommend both of those. And then if you have maybe a 2-day weekend and that's all the time you have, I'd actually recommend the Asian Art Museum. Um, it was. I've heard some people say San Francisco isn't really big on like museums, and that's not why you go there. And I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, specifically the Asian Art Museum, it was really nice. If you're military, you get in free, and then even if you did have to pay it, it totally would have been worth the price for that, because it had several really nice exhibits. I think the Korean and Chinese exhibit was closed at the time, but usually there's a whole another floor. But there are still two whole floors of exhibits, and then even a bottom floor with like some. When we went, they had tattoos, like Japanese tattoos on display, and then they had some other local artist who had done some different paintings and stuff. So it was pretty cool. And then they have all sorts of like calligraphy. They have old stuff dating back to like um, just super old, like stuff from India. They have stuff from China, stuff from Tibet, and I thought it was really impressive. So recommend that. Also, if you have so near that area, they also have Japantown, which if you're only there for 2 days, I wouldn't really recommend Japantown. Japantown in general, it was kind of just like a shopping mall with sushi, and then they had some different like Japanese food stuff you could buy or different things you could buy. But it wasn't as impressive. I like Chinatown better, so I would recommend if you have just 2 days, maybe Chinatown. That's where we actually stayed. So you could go, you can find out where they made the first fortune cookie and different stuff like that. Maybe you could throw in Pier 39 as well. It's a famous pier over there if you really like piers. You could get some good seafood over there, some good clam chowder, different stuff like that. And then another thing that I would recommend for sure if you have 3 days, maybe even if you have 2 days, but it might be a little too much for 2 days, and that's Golden Gate Park. So Golden Gate Park, be careful when you look at the maps. Some of them aren't to size, and it'll say that it's not to size, but I didn't catch that the first time. So it looks like a little square. So we kind of went down this way, and then we went across. But when we were going across, it's actually pretty long because this shows how big it actually is. So it's got a golf course. It's got all sorts of stuff, and then there's just different local stuff going on from day to day. And on this Strawberry Hill, that you can actually go. You can rent like a rowboat or a kayak, so that was pretty fun. We did that. And then they have like some Japanese garden, which we didn't have time to go see by the time we got there because it was closing. But they also have the famous, they have like the conservatory, and they have some other stuff over there that's worth a while. Kind of more on the right side is kind of where a lot of the more famous stuff is. So Golden Gate Park, I would recommend that as well. If you have the time. And that's, even if you have 3 days, that's kind of a good starting off point. So yeah, Asian Art Museum, obviously Alcatraz in San Diego, and the Golden Gate Bridge, but the Golden Gate Park is actually really good too, because it kind of actually connects all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge, and then it comes down. But most of it's in here, and then yeah, that's probably the one thing that we didn't get to do was some of that stuff in the Golden Gate Park, so I'd recommend that as well. So hopefully that video helped you guys, and have a great day.